So the overview of British rule in Assam. So here actually we'll discuss in brief starting from 1826 up to 1947, right? So here we will only discuss the important events with brief description. Then in the upcoming lectures we'll discuss in detail. So anyway, I have already mentioned that in the year 1826 the Treaty of Yandabu was signed between British East India Company and the King of Hawa or Burmese monarch, right? So after the treaty, actually Assam was formally handed over to British East India Company. Then they restored the kings of Kachar, Jaintia and Manipur. But East India Company continued their occupation in Assam. Assam was divided into two regions, Lower Assam and Upper Assam. Lower Assam basically it is the western part of Assam, and Upper Assam basically it is the eastern part of Assam, mainly the Ahom kingdom, right? And the Coast kingdom actually falls in the Lower Assam and Ahom kingdom falls in the Upper Assam region, right? So anyway, the Lower Assam region, it comprises of Kamrup, Nagaon and parts of Dorong, and its headquarters was at Guwahati. Then the Upper Assam region, it comprised of Dorong, then from Biswanath up to the river Burhidihing, and its headquarters was at Rangpur, right? And Rangpur was also the capital of Ahom kingdom. Then Lower Assam was brought directly under the British administration or dominion because the revenue income from Lower Assam was very high. But British was very reluctant. British means the East India Company. They were reluctant to introduce civil administration in the Upper Assam region, right? So Upper Assam was put under direct military control. Then I have already discussed in the Anglo-Burmese War that the British troop was led by David Scott, Colonel Captain Newbill and Colonel Richard. So David Scott was the agent of Governor General, isn't it? So after Yandabu Treaty, David Scott became the agent of Governor General for the entire northeastern frontier, and also he became the commissioner, that means the senior commissioner of Assam. And he was given the responsibility to introduce the civil and also the revenue administration. And also he was given the responsibility to extend British dominion into Assam. Then Colonel Richard, so he was a military officer. He was appointed as the commissioner, junior commissioner of Upper Assam region. But later the post of junior commissioner was scrapped and the post of political agent was introduced. So first of all, when after the Yandabu Treaty, David Scott became the senior commissioner and Colonel Richard became the junior commissioner. Then in the year 1833, the Ahom Prince Purandar Singha was restored in the Upper Assam region because I have already mentioned that the revenue from Upper Assam region was not very high, and that is why British was very reluctant to introduce their own administrative system, and that is why Purandar Singha was restored as a vassal king. And the entire Upper Assam except Hodia and Motok territories was placed under Purandar Singha. But later, based on the reports of Commissioner Jenkins, Purandar Singha's territory was taken over by British in 1838. So he was placed in 1833. Then his territory was again taken back by British in 1838. And the territory of Ahom, basically, it was divided into two districts, Hibohagar and Lakhimpur. Then the British annexed Kachar, right? Thus, one by one, actually, all the principalities of the Brahmaputra Valley were annexed to the company. Company means British East India Company's dominion in 20 years, in 2 decades. Then Jaintia Kingdom. So presently Jaintia is located in the Meghalaya state, right? So Jaintia was also annexed in 1835. Then Manipur was restored to its ruling dynasty. Then Khasi Hill was annexed in 1834. So these were basically tribal region, right? And Khasi Hill, it is also located in present-day Meghalaya state. Then due to the outrages committed by the Bhutias, particularly in the Bhutan border, right, in the foothills of Himalaya, particularly in Dorong district, actually they had committed raids on British subjects, right? And that is why British government had also attached all the Assam Duars in 1841 AD. That means Assam Duar means basically the foothills of Himalaya in India-Bhutan border. Then meanwhile, on the recommendation of TC Robertson, in March 1833, the province of Assam was divided into 4 districts. Basically the Lower Assam region: Gwalpara, Kamrup, Dorong and Nagaon. So 4 districts. Then in 1842, British Company, East India Company, annexed both Hodia and Motok territory and combined them with the Lakhimpur district, and Dibrugarh was made the headquarters. Then in the year 1898, British took possession of the Lusai Hills, that means the Mizoram, and it was also placed under the administration of Assam, right? So Lusai Hills was included in Assam in 1898. Then between 1835 to 1851, 10 military expeditions were sent to Naga Hills, and by 1866, British annexed the entire area of Naga Hills, right? Then in the year 1854, the territory of Tularam Khenapati, and Tularam Khenapati was the successor of last Kosari king Govinda Chandra. So by 1854, the territory of Tularam was also annexed, and it is added to the North Kasar subdivision. Then after that, in 1874 AD, the province of Assam was created after combining with the Kasar and Silhet district, and it was constituted as a chief commissioner's province. So a chief commissioner was appointed, and the headquarters of newly created Assam province, that means chief commissioner's province, was established in Shillong in 1874 AD, right? So this is a very important information. Many of us actually do not know that in which year Shillong was established or Shillong was made the capital of Assam. Then the answer will be 1874. And after 100 years of 1874, the capital was shifted from Shillong to Guwahati or Dispur, right? Then in the year 1905, Lord Curzon, he combined the eastern district of Bengal with Assam. And it is the famous partition, not famous, actually notorious, right? It was the notorious partition of Bengal. And a new province was formed. But actually, there were severe protests. And after that, in April 1912, Assam was restored to its former position. Then in the year 1921, Assam was given the status of a governor's province. First commissioner's province, then chief commissioner's province, and finally in 1921, it was made the governor's province as per the provision of Government of India Act 1919. Then in the year 1935, Assam was granted provincial autonomy by this particular act, Government of India Act 1935, and a bicameral legislature was also formed in Assam. Then on 15th of August 1947, along with the other parts of India, Assam also got independence from British occupation and finally became the part of Indian Union. So basically, here I have covered a brief overview, a very brief overview from 1826 up to 1947. Just to get an overview. Now we'll discuss in detail. First of all, we'll discuss the introduction of British civil administration in Assam. So let us begin. So administration of David Scott. As I have already mentioned that after the Treaty of Yandabu, David Scott was given the responsibility to introduce civil introduction in Assam, right? So in the year 1828 AD, martial law was lifted from Upper Assam, and David Scott was appointed as the Commissioner of Assam. And all matters like civil and criminal justice, revenue administration, police, etc., all these subjects matters were placed under the Commissioner of Assam, David Scott. Very important information. Who was the first Commissioner of Assam? Answer will be David Scott. And David Scott actually organized the administration in general outline, and he retained many old indigenous systems prevalent at that time. Particularly, he retained many systems of the Ahom administration. In Upper Assam, the old pike system and khel system was retained, and the Borborua was appointed to collect the revenue or taxes. Similarly, in the Lower Assam region, the Pargana land division system was retained. So even now, this particular Pargana land division is existent in the West Bengal state, right? Pargana, and there is a district in West Bengal called Sobis Pargana, right? So this is a Pargana land division was basically a characteristic of the Bengal, right? Then each Pargana was placed under the charge of an officer called Sodhuri. So Sodhuri had collected taxes in the Lower Assam and Borborua collected taxes in the Upper Assam region. And what are the taxes actually? Professional taxes, which was to be paid by the artisans and different professionals. Then rent taxes and also stamp duties were to be paid mainly by the people of Lower Assam. Then David Scott actually recommended the restoration of Ahom monarchy in Upper Assam rather than its annexation, because I have already mentioned that the revenue collection from Upper Assam is very low in comparison to Lower Assam. So accordingly, Ahom Prince Purandar was enthroned or restored as the Raja of Upper Assam region under an agreement. So Purandar would pay a sum of 50,000 annually as a tribute. Then Raja, that means Purandar would act according to the advice of a British political agent, and the Raja would be protected against any foreign aggression. So these were the terms of the agreement between Purandar and East India Company, basically, right? Then David Scott died in the year 1831, and then the commissioner, the new commissioner appointed was TC Robertson. So here we will discuss the administration of TC Robertson. So TC Robertson became the agent to Governor General and Commissioner of Assam in the year 1832, and he divided Lower Assam into 4 districts, as I have already mentioned. So each was placed under a principal assistant, and he was given the power of collector, judge and magistrate. So he had executive power as well as the judicial power. Then Robertson brought about some radical changes in the revenue administration. So in the year 1832, he abolished the additional compulsory taxes, and tax on land at various rates were also imposed on the peasants, very important. And Sodhuri, Patgiri, Bikhoya, these type of officers were appointed to assess and collect revenues, right? So they were basically revenue officers, Sodhuri, Patgiri, Bikhoya. Then in the year 1834, the post of Agent of Governor General for Northeastern Frontier was scrapped or removed, and Captain Francis Jenkins were appointed as the Commissioner of Assam. And during the administration of Jenkins, Upper Assam was annexed into British territory in 1834, right? So although British has entered Assam in 1826, until 1838, the Upper Assam region was not directly annexed into British territory. It was done by Captain Francis Jenkins. Then the post of Deputy Commissioner was created in 1839, mainly to relieve the Commissioner as a civil and session judge, right? And the Deputy Commissioner was empowered with civil duties with judicial power as well. And he also acted as district and session judge. And this particular post, Deputy Commissioner, is still existent, but the powers are different. But he now at present, Deputy Commissioner is the administrative head of the state, right? And at present he doesn't have any judicial power. But during British era, Deputy Commissioner was also given judicial power, right? And he acted as district and session judge. Now let us discuss some important features of British civil administration in Assam. So each district was placed in charge of a principal senior assistant, and he was assisted by a junior assistant and a sub-assistant. Then although David Scott actually retained the khel system, but later the khel system was abolished, and new taxes like taxes on barimati or household land were also introduced. Then in the year 1861, the post of Deputy Commissioner was redesignated as Judicial Commissioner. Then the Principal Assistant post was designated as Deputy Commissioner, Junior Assistant as Assistant Commissioner, and Sub Assistant as Extra Assistant Commissioner. And finally, in the year 1874, Assam was created as a separate province and a Chief Commissioner was appointed. So there might be a direct question, in which year Assam was created as a Chief Commissioner's province? Answer will be 1874. Then Colonel R.H. Keating became the first Chief Commissioner of Assam. And this type of information are very important from examination point of view. Typical question, who was the first Chief Commissioner? Answer will be Colonel R.H. Keating. And who was the first Commissioner? Then the answer will be David Scott. Then in the year 1880, a Commissioner was appointed for Brahmaputra Valley. In 1905, Commissioners were appointed also for Kachar, Surma and Hill district. Then on 16th of October 1905, Assam became a part of newborn composite province of Eastern Bengal and Assam. So basically, it is the Partition of Bengal. But later in 1912, Assam was again restored as a Chief Commissioner's province. And in the year 1912, the first Legislative Council of Assam was created. Then in the year 1921, Assam was given the status of Governor's Province. Another important fact from examination point of view. And Sir Nicholas Bitson Bell, he became the first Governor of Assam. First Commissioner's Province, then Chief Commissioner's Province, and finally in 1921, Assam became a Governor's Province. Then let us discuss the British judicial administration in Assam. So in the initial years of British annexation, Borfukan looked after the judicial administration. But later it was changed. So there was a civil judicial establishment consisting of one principal Khodoramin and Munchief. And in each district there were two courts, the Munchiefs and the Panchayat. So the Munchief's court actually they tried the original cases from 100 to 500 rupees, and they also heard appeals from the Panchayat court. And the Panchayat court, it is basically a lower court, and it tried actually minor cases up to 100 rupees only. Then the separate establishment of Khodoramin and Munchief was abolished in 1872. So these are some important events particularly relating to the administration of British in Assam. All the points are important. Try to remember all these things. Then after the creation of a separate province in 1874, a separate Faujdari means criminal matters and Diwani means civil matters. So separate courts for criminal matters and civil matters were established in each district of Assam. Then to maintain law and order and also to protect lives and properties of the people, thanas were established by the British with a thanadar and daroga in charge, and basically the thanas consisted of one daroga, one jamadar and a number of constables. And the darogas could arrest suspected person and they could detain them and even hold preliminary trial before sending them to a horror station. So basically the darogas were like the station house officer, right, or the officer in charge, OC. Nowadays the post of daroga is similar to OC or station house officer. Then British abolished cruel punishment and practices which were prevalent in Coast Kingdom, then also in Ahom Kingdom mostly, right? Say for example the chopping of ears, noses, abduction of young women, forced labor, mutilation, etc. But at the same time, the judicial became a costly affair, the judicial system. Why? Because the court cases, like they required lawyers, all these things actually required money, and that is why the British judicial system became out of reach of the common people. And apart from that, when the peasant actually they were unable to pay taxes, their land were confiscated at that time. So this is about British judicial administration in Assam. Now let us discuss some other regulation. So in the year 1835, a police force named Kachar Levy was formed to protect British settlement from the tribal raids and also from other assault. And this is the oldest paramilitary force in Assam, and now it has been redesignated as Assam Rifles. In the year 1835, the Kachar Levy was formed. This is the oldest paramilitary force in India. And as per the provisions of Bengal Eastern Frontier Regulation 1873, inner line was also introduced in the hill region, mainly to regulate the entry of people of other region to the hill region. Say for example Naga Hill, Lusai Hill, and also parts of Arunachal Pradesh, right? And basically why this inner line permit was there? So inner line permit was introduced to protect the British Crown's interest in tea, oil, timber and other resources in the region. So basically it was a trick played by British government. So at that time actually there were several merchants of other countries as well. Say for example Denmark, the Danish, Portuguese, etc. And that is why this particular inner line permit was introduced to regulate the entry of the merchants from Danish, that means the Denmark merchant, the Portuguese and also the Dutch, right? So this is the inner line permit system. Then trade, commerce and communication in British rule in Assam. So first of all, Gaurinath Singha signed a commercial treaty with Captain Wells in 1793. And this particular treaty had allowed the merchant of Bengal to engage in trading in Assam. So this was the first commercial treaty. Then indigenous tea of Assam was discovered by Robert Bruce in 1823. And in the year 1839, Assam Company was established by British, and it has set up the first tea garden at Najira. Then by 1858, the erstwhile Lakhimpur, Sibsagar and Kachar were covered by this company for tea plantation. So this is regarding trade and commerce. And C.A. Bruce and Moniram Devon, they had played a great role in the tea plantation of Assam during the initial period. But later, Moniram Devon, he actually played a key role in the 1857 revolt. So initially, he was a friend of British, but later he actually revolted against the British rule. Then import of labor from outside like Chotnagpur, Jharkhand, Orissa also took place for the expansion of tea industry. And as per records, actually around 3 lakhs laborers were, actually labor means the laborer, basically the tribal people, were imported to Assam or brought to Assam in the period 1881. And this particular number reached over 6 lakhs by 1901. And at present, this tea tribe community is one of the major community in Assam, right? Then the avenues of employment both in office and trade caused inflow of population from the district of Sylhet, Dhaka, Moymansingo and Rangpur. So now at present all these districts are in Bangladesh. Earlier they were part of East Bengal, right? Then first coal mining was done in 1882 at Lido by Assam Railway and Trading Company. Then the first oil well at Digboi was drilled in 1889. And the first refinery at Digboi started functioning in 1901 under Assam Oil Company Limited. So these were trade and commerce and communication under British rule. Then the first railway line in Assam was the Dibru-Khadia line. It was constructed in 1882. And the British had constructed this particular line mainly to evacuate tea, oil and timbers which are produced in Upper Assam region. And then in the year 1892, Assam Bengal Railway was incorporated. So this is regarding communication. Then in the year 1839, country boats for carrying goods between Assam and Bengal started, particularly in the Brahmaputra river. Then in the year 1841 AD, a steamboat was launched by Assam Tea Company mainly for exporting tea from Assam through Brahmaputra river, right? Then in 1842-1843, the Assam Trunk Road was constructed, and after around 10 years, the North Trunk Road was constructed, right? Now comes the official language. So between 1826 and 1837, the Assamese language had been in use in Assam, particularly for literature and also in official purpose. And British then encouraged the establishment of English school in Assam because they needed English knowing people to help the running of administration. Then that is why the services of English educated and Bengali people from Bengali became very important at that time, particularly for revenue and judicial department, and also for newly started government school. And since actually a number of Bengali people come to Assam, eventually in 1837, Bengali language was made the official language in the courts, government department, and the medium of instruction in the government school in Assam. So this particular year 1837 was a dark year in the history of Assam, right? So Bengali was made the official language and Assamese was replaced. Then Anandaram Dhekial Phukon, he actually raised his voice against this particular initiative taken by British. So he pleaded for its replacement by Assamese once again. And finally, due to the effort made by Anandaram Dhekial Phukon and many other educated Assamese, and also due to the effort of Baptist Christian missionaries, Assamese was reintroduced as the official language in 1871. And this particular long period from 1837 up to 1871, it was called the dark age of Assamese language under British rule. Please try to remember both the years 1837 and 1871. Now let us discuss the development of education. So in the British rule, actually the education has developed to a great extent. Earlier in Ahom period and also in medieval period, only tolls were there, Sanskrit toll. So now let us discuss the development of education. First of all, let us discuss primary education. So David Scott, the first commissioner of Assam, he actually promoted the indigenous system of education in Assam, right? And he started 11 schools, mostly in the lower Assam region. And he also opened a school in Garo Hills for the expansion of primary education among the hill tribes as well. And in the year 1926, the first compulsory primary education act was passed in Assam. So this is about primary education in Assam during British rule. Then secondary education. So in Assam, secondary education has started in the year 1835. Captain Jenkins has established the first English high school in the year 1835 in Guwahati. And that particular school was known as Guwahati Seminary and later Guwahati School or Guwahati School. And this is nothing but the present day Cotton Collegiate School that is located in Panbazar. I think those who are from Guwahati or visited Guwahati, I think most of you have visited the Cotton Collegiate School. So it is located very near to the Cotton College, right? Then in the year 1841, a high school was also established in Hibohagar, and that particular school is now known as Hibohagar Government Higher Secondary School. So the second high school in Assam is the Shivsagar Government Higher Secondary School, and the first one is the Guwahati School or Cotton Collegiate High School. Very important information from examination point of view. Then in the year 1874, Assam was separated from Bengal and a Department of Education was also created. So this is very important. Actually in 1874, Assam was created as a Chief Commissioner's province, right? And in the same year, Department of Education was created in Assam. Then from 1912 to 1947, the number of middle English school and middle vernacular school increased from 742, right? And the number of high school increased up to 191. And during that time, actually, the matriculation examination of high school level, it was conducted by Calcutta University because at that time there was no university in Assam. And the first university in Assam was established in 1948 after independence, right? And Gopinath Bordoloi played a key role in establishing that particular university, Guwahati University, right? So before independence, there was only one university in Assam. Actually not exactly in Assam, it was in Kolkata, but it actually administered the system of education in Assam, that is the Calcutta University. Then higher education. So in May 1866, the collegiate section was opened in the Guwahati School and the affiliation was in Calcutta University, as I have already mentioned. and the first stream was in arts. But unfortunately, the collegiate section of Guwahati School was abolished by Colonel Keatings in 1876. Then in 1882, Sir Charles Eliot, he introduced a scholarship to all Assam students who passed the entrance examination and went for FA and BA examination at any college in Bengal. So this is here you can see this is how British actually helped to develop education system in Assam. Then in the year 1899, Manik Chandra Borua, he was a very famous personality during that period. So Manik Chandra Borua, he made a strong demand for establishment of a college at Guwahati region. So Chief Commissioner Henry John Stedman Cotton, he decided to establish a government college at Guwahati, and finally on 27th of May 1901, the Cotton College was formally opened in Assam. So Cotton College is the first college in Assam established in 1901, and it is very important because at the same year the Digboi refinery also started functioning. Digboi refinery and Cotton College, these two are very important institutions in Assam, right? Then Frederick William Sudmarson, he was the first principal of Cotton College, and Cotton College is named after Chief Commissioner Henry John Stedman Cotton. Then from 1914 to 1935, the following colleges were established in Assam. First of all, the Earl Law College in Guwahati, 1914. Then Jagannath Borua College at Jorhat, 1931. And Lady Kien College in Shillong, because at that time Shillong was a part of Assam, right? It was established in 1935. And finally in 1945, Dibrugarh College was established in Dibrugarh, and now it is known as DSHK College. So first comes the initial anti-British surge, and this is the period of plot and rebellion against British. So as I have already discussed that through the Yandabo Treaty that was signed in 1826, Assam was formally handed over to the British East India Company, right? And this was a treaty between East India Company and the King of Hawa. So after that, after the Treaty of Yandabo, British actually they had gradually started introducing new system of civil and revenue administration, and all this information I have covered in the previous lecture. So when actually they introduced a new system, the Ahom royal families and the other nobles, they had lost their rights and privileges, right? And that is why it caused a great amount of dissatisfaction among them. And that is why they were actually planning to plot rebellion against the British East India Company. So in the year 1828, some Ahom nobles, they had organized a revolt under the leadership of Dhananjay Pioli Borgohain. And this was the first revolt against British in Assam. Very important, 1828 AD, Dhananjay Pioli Borgohain. And actually the rebel, they decided to place Gumodhar Kaur in the throne. So Gumodhar Kaur, basically, he is from Ahom royal family. And the Khasi people, the Khasi tribe and the nearby Singpho tribe, they are also ready to actually make a revolt against the British. So all of them, they got united and they organized some soldiers and advanced towards Rangpur. And at that time, Rangpur was the center of British administration in the Upper Assam region, right? Basa is the region where Gomodhar Kaur was finally enthroned as a Ahom king. But soon the rebels lost the battle against the British army, and the British army was led by Lieutenant Rutherford, right? And Gomodhar Kaur was arrested and imprisoned, and Dhananjay was captured and provided death penalty. But fortunately, Dhananjay was able to escape, and he escaped to the nearby Motok state, right? Then after that, in the following year, in 1829, Dhananjay again organized another revolt, right? And this is also against the British. Then Dhananjay was this time assisted by his sons Harakanto and Haranath and another Ahom official called Jiuram Dulia Borua. And after that, later many other from Ahom noble families also joined them. And Pioli Borphukon was one of them. And Pioli Borphukon was the son of Boron Borphukon. And here you can see actually Bodan Borphukon was very notorious because he brought the Burmese army to Assam. But here you can see the patriotism of Pioli Borphukon. He actually organized a revolt against British, right? So the second revolt was organized by Dhananjay Pioli Borgohai, Jiuram Dulia Borua, Pioli Borphukon, and Harakanto and Haranath, their son of Dhananjay, right? Then Rupsan Kuor, Brajanath Kuor, and Kuor means actually their Ahom prince, right? Then Deuram Dihingya Phukon, they also took part in that particular plot. Then Pioli Borphukon and Pioli Borgohai, they actually addressed letters to the chiefs of the nearby region like Khamti, Singpho, Muamoria, Manipuri, Naga, Khasi, and Garos, particularly for help. Then the Khasi leader, he responded, and he was Tirut Singh. So Tirut Singh himself joined the rebel. Then in the year 1830 AD, the rebels advanced towards Rangpur again. But this time, Hodia Khua Gohai betrayed the rebels, and he actually handed over some secret letters to the British official. And that is why British came to know about the plot of Dhananjay Pioli Borgohai, Pioli Borphukon, etc. Right? So the precautionary measures were taken, and then British got alerted and launched precautionary measure. And on 28th of January 1830, Haranath was apprehended by British official. Right? Then Pioli Borgohai and other leaders, they actually launched an attack upon Rangpur on the night of March 25, 1830. So despite this arrest, Pioli Borgohai and the other leaders launched attack on British. Then Captain Newbill, so he immediately sent British troop, and Pioli Borphukon, Jiuram Dulia Borua, Rupsan Kaur, then Deuram Dihingya Deka, all of them were arrested. And they were brought to trial at the first instance in the Hodor Panchayat court at Hibasagar. Right, so they were arrested and they were brought for trial. Then all of them were found guilty of treason and convicted. Treason means Dekhdrohin Assamese, right? And they were convicted, and that penalty was provided to Pioli Borphukon and Jiuram Dulia Borua. And finally, on August 1830, Pioli Borphukon and Jiuram Dulia Borua were publicly hanged to death on the bank of Hibasagar Tang, right? And this particular year is very important. And the properties of other rebels were confiscated, and they were banished or exiled for 14 years. And this was the last organized rebellion against British rule by the upper classes in Assam. Upper classes mean basically the nobles and the Ahom families, right? And these actually initial revolts, these initial two revolts were unable to get the support from the common people, because the common people had already lost faith on Ahom rule, and that is why they preferred to remain under British rule. So at that time actually, the people of Assam, they supported British rule, and that is why the initial anti-British revolt actually failed, right? Then let us discuss the anti-British movement of 1857. So the rule of East India Company ended in 1858, and then the whole of India, including Assam, came under the direct control of British Crown. Then the assessment of land revenue was increased. Then income tax, then stamp duties, etc. were also imposed by the new system of administration. And in fact, the British government started carrying trade on opium. Opium means kani, very important, right? Kani. Then opium, then salt in the state, and started earning considerable profit. And the people of Assam, who were not accustomed to the payment of revenue in cash, they actually began to resent, right? So there was a growing dissatisfaction among the common people of Assam, and it was followed by the Association of Assam in the Sepoy Mutiny, and Moniram Devon was taking the lead in Assam, right? So after actually 1858, when the British Crown directly started ruling Assam, Assam joined the Sepoy Mutiny under the leadership of Moniram Devon. So who was Moniram Devon? In the year 1839, Moniram Devon became the Barbhandar Borua, or the finance minister of Purandar Hingha, and later he became the Devan of Assam Tea Company, but he resigned. In the year 1853, Moffat Mills came to Assam to review the economic condition. And in that visit, Moniram Devon explained him the evil effects of British rule and pleaded Moffat Mills to restore Assam to Kondorpesar Singha. And the Kondorpesar Singha was the grandson of Purandar Singha. But that effort failed, right? Then in 1857, Moniram Devon again went to Kolkata and he this time pleaded government to restore the kingdom to Kondorpesar Singha again. But he didn't get any response, and finally he turned a rebel in 1857, right? So first actually he tried to bring the Ahom rule in Upper Assam through negotiation, but his negotiation failed, and that is why he turned a rebel in the year 1857. And by that time actually the Sepoy Mutiny already broke out in some parts of Assam, particularly in North India, right? And that is why Moniram Devon made a conspiracy to overthrow British rule in Assam and place Kondorpesar Singha by associating with that particular Sepoy Mutiny. So what he did, Moniram Devon sent from Kolkata, he was in Calcutta at that time, he sent secret letters through conveyors. Conveyors means they were known as Fat, right? So he sent secret letters to several individuals in Assam to organize the revolt. And contact was also established with the Subadars, Nur Muhammad, then Bhikhum Sheikh, and also few other Jamadar. Jamadar means they are basically the commander of sepoys, right? So contact was made with them who were stationed at Dibrugarh and Golaghat. Please try to remember the name, Nur Muhammad and Bhikhum Sheikh. And Bahadur Gaambudha and Sheikh Farmud Ali, they also actively participated in that particular plot against British, right? So they were the leaders basically, Moniram Devon, Bahadur Gaambudha, Sheikh Farmud Ali, etc. But British officer Charles Holroyd came to know about that particular conspiracy made by Moniram Devon, and soon security measures were tightened up by British and they actually enforced operation and a large number of arrests took place. So Pioli Borua, Dutiram Borua, Mayaram Nazir, Morongi Khwa Guhai, Bahadur Gaambudha, Farmud Ali and several other leaders of that particular revolt or plot were arrested and they were deported. And most of them were deported to Koliapani. Koliapani is basically the jail located in Andaman, present-day Andaman, right? And Kondorpesar Singha was also arrested and he was dispersed to Kolkata and kept confined as a state prisoner in Alipur, right? And Moniram Devon was arrested in Calcutta and he was brought to Assam. Then his trial began and he was convicted of sedition or treason along with Pioli Borua. Then on 26th of February 1858, Moniram Devon and Pioli Borua were publicly hanged in Jorhat jail, right? So this is in 1858. The first hanging took place in 1830, right? Jiram Dulia Borua and Pioli Borfukon. Please don't get confused. So here you can see the effort made by Moniram Devon to overthrow the British rule came to an end. And the Sepoy Mutiny had also spread to other troops like Kamrup Regiment that is stationed at Guwahati. But after that, many sepoys were dismissed from service. So this is very important. The Sepoy Mutiny in Assam has also spread to Kamrup Regiment in Guwahati, right? Now let us discuss the Peasant Uprising, অর্থাৎ কৃষক বিদ্রোহ. The term is কৃষক বিদ্রোহ, right? So as I have already mentioned that in the year 1858, British East India Company's rule ended in Assam and direct government under British Crown was established. Then the new government under British Queen, it actually doubled the existing rates of revenue on land, and also new taxes like stamp duty, excise duty, and even income tax was also imposed on different parts of Assam. And this type of new activity of British government actually caused a great amount of dissatisfaction among the common people of Assam, particularly the peasants or the farmers. And that is why there was peasant uprising at that time. So the first one is the Fula Guridhawa in the year 1861. So Fula Guridhawa took place in Fulaguri region of present-day Nagaon district. And the main cause of this particular uprising was the ban on private cultivation of opium. Opium means poppy seeds or kani, right? And the main cause is ban on cultivation of opium and the increased rate on opium by government. So it was known as kani or afo at that time, right? So it is basically a intoxicating material. Then the people of Fula Guridhawa, basically they are mostly Lalung and Kosari tribe, and they were opium users. So they were dissatisfied. Then they strongly opposed the ban on the cultivation of poppy through organizing rice mill in 1861. So this is the first peasant uprising in Assam. Please remember Fula Guridhawa. Then on 18th of October 1861, a young British officer, his name was Mr. Singer. So actually Mr. Singer tried to disperse an ongoing rice mill in Fula Guridhawa region, and that is why the angry mob, angry tribal people, they lynched Mr. Singer to death, right? And following that particular incident, this particular revolt was suppressed and many leaders were imprisoned and many were killed or executed, right? Then after that, in the year 1886, the Assam Land and Revenue Regulation was introduced and the revenue or the tax was again increased. 1886 Assam Land and Revenue Regulation. Please try to remember, very important. Then following that, several peasant uprisings took place in the period 1892 up to 1894, mainly in the district of Kamrup and Dorong, right? And that popular uprising of peasants was termed as Assam Riot by the British. So it was the Assam Riot that took place in 1892 to 1894 after this particular Assam Land and Revenue Regulation, right? Then the uprising basically took place in the regions like Bozali in Borpeta now, then Rongya in Kamrup now, Lasima, Pothorughat, etc. Pothorughat, it is in Dorong district, right? So first of all, the people of Rongya organized rice mill. So in the year 1893, they ransacked the Rongya market, and in the year 1894, they raised a slogan against British, and they actually declared that they will not pay any increased revenue. And on the same day, a ban on the rice mill was imposed by British Deputy Commissioner of Kamrup. So this is the revolt of Rongya. Then all the leaders were arrested and the Rongya revolt came to an end. Then comes the revolt of Luchima. So the people of Luchima, they actually resorted to violence, and in fact they assaulted the revenue collectors on 29th of January 1894. However, despite such revolts or uprising, land tax was doubled. And the most notable uprising of that particular period took place in Pothorughat. Pothorughat is in Dorong district, and it is a very important historical event in Assam, right? Pothorughator Krishak Bidroh, and it occurred or it took place in the year 1894. So actually what happened? On January 28, 1894, around 140 protesting peasants were killed in a police firing, and the police firing was led by Superintendent of Police Barrington, right? And the Pothorughat incident is also known as Dolly Run, because the peasants pelted Dolly. Dolly means actually, in Assamese it is called Matir Sapora, right? Cloths of clay or Matir Sapora. So the peasants actually fighted against the armed British soldier or police by throwing or by pelting dollies, and that is why it was known as Dolly Run. And after that, actually popular verses were also composed to remember the Dolly Run, and those actually popular songs are known as Dolly Puran. Then the rice mills and peasant uprising played a great important role in making people conscious, and the risings of 1892 and 94 had an impact in the Imperial Legislative Council. And in the Imperial Legislative Council, Dr. Rah Bihari Ghosh questioned the enhanced assessment of revenue in Assam, right? So here you can see it had impact in the Imperial Legislative Council. So this is about the peasant uprising in Assam during British rule, particularly in the initial period. Now let us discuss the rise of socio-political organization in Assam during British rule. So a new awakening marked the last decades of 19th century after the peasant uprising. So the rice mill and Rayat Sabha became very popular institution, and through Rayat Sabha or rice mill, people of Assam started expressing their opinion on socio-economic matters. Then the Tezpur Rayat Sabha was established in 1884 by Lakshmikanta Borkakoti, Haribila Agarwala, Bhavani Chandra Bhattacharya, Lambudar Bora, Joydev Sharma, Lakshmikanta Das, and many others. And Haribila Agarwala, he was the father of Jyoti Prasad Agarwala, right? And actually, this particular Tezpur Rayat Sabha was established mainly to protest against the increased land revenue, and it also took other public activities. Say for example, the Tezpur Rayat Sabha built the Tezpur Town Hall in 1887 with the help of small subscription or donation from hundreds of peasants. So this is very important. Tezpur Town Hall was established in 1887 by Tezpur Rayat Sabha, which was formed in 1884. And whenever you see the question papers of competitive examination, the years of important institution, the establishment year of important institution or organization are very important, right? Then in 1885, Assam Desh Hitoikhini Sabha or Assam Desh Hitoikhini Sabha was formed at Shivasagar under the supervision of Anandaram Borua and Gunavi Ram Borua. The year is important, 1885. And in the same year, actually, the Indian National Congress was also formed, right? 1885. Then regarding some other organization, in the year 1857-1859, Anandaram Dhekial Phukon established Gyan Pradayani Sabha at Nagaon. And the main objective of that particular organization is the spreading of knowledge, particularly advanced knowledge on education and other education among people, right? Then comes the Sarvajanik Sabha. And Sarvajanik Sabha is considered to be the first political association of Assam in British rule. And it was founded by Jagannath Borua in 1884, and this Sarvajanik Sabha lasted until 1907. And Rajkumar Narayan Singha was also associated. And Rajkumar Narayan Singha, he was from the royal Ahom family, right? And please try to relate Sarvajanik Sabha by Jagannath Borua in the year 1884. Then this Sarvajanik Sabha brought political consciousness among the people and made them aware of the harmful effect of the British rule. And what they did actually, so Sarvajanik Sabha, they protested or they organized protests against the introduction of Assam Land and Revenue Regulation of 1887, as I have already mentioned. Then the Sarvajanik Sabha also supported the abolition of cultivation of opium, right? And they also took up the cause of opium cultivation, and they urged or requested the government to improve the condition of opium cultivator, right? Then in the year 1885, the Indian National Congress was formed, as I have already mentioned. But in the first session, there was no representative from Assam, right? But in the second session of Congress that was held in Calcutta in 1886, the first session was in Bombay, right? Second session, it was in Calcutta, and many representatives from Assam joined that particular second session of Indian National Congress, INC. So Debi Saran Borua of Upper Assam Association, Kalikanta Borkakoti of Shillong Association, Satyanath Bora of Nagaon Right Association, then Kamini Kumar Sanda of Habibganj People Association, all of them represented Assam in the second session of Congress. All the names are important. Debi Saran Borua, Kalikanta Borkakoti, Satyanath Bora, and Kamini Kumar Sanda. Please try to remember all the names. Very important from examination point of view, right? Now the Assam Association. And Assam Association is considered to be the most important association, political association in British Assam. So it was formed in 1903 by several noted personalities like Manik Chandra Borua, Ghanashyam Borua, Jagannath Borua. And Jagannath Borua, he also established the Sarvajanik Sabha, right? And he was basically a rich merchant, Hodagar. And Fonidhar Kholiha, Hoiznur Ali, and many others. So all of them actually formed the Assam Association in 1903. Then in 1905, the first session of Assam Association was held in Dibrugarh, and that session formally elected Raja Prabhat Chandra Borua of Gauripur as its president. And this particular Gauripur region, it is in Dhubri district, right? And Jagannath Borua became vice president and Manik Chandra Borua as general secretary. And actually Manik Chandra Borua had played a great role in the activities of Assam Association. And Assam Association opposed the partition of Bengal, then the grazing tax, then realization of money by the government from immoral trade of opium. So it was their activity. Then Nobin Chandra Borole presided over the 1917 session of Assam Association that was held in Dibrugarh. And following that, a deputation from Assam Association consisting of Nobin Chandra Borole and Prahanna Kumar Borua, they were sent to London to represent Assam before the Selborne Committee of House of Lords. Very important, please remember. And this delegation or deputation, they actually demanded full provincial status for Assam. So there might be a direct question, who went to London to represent before the Selborne Committee of House of Lords? Answer will be Nobin Chandra Borole and Prahanna Kumar Borua. And if you see the question papers of APSC Combined Competitive Examination Prelims, so this type of question are very common, right? A question was asked on who was the first Assamese to participate in the round table conference, right? And that is why this type of question you should remember. Then in the same year, in 1917, a delegation of Ghanashyam Borua, Ganga Govinda Fukan, Nobin Chandra Borole, Padmanath Gohai Borua, Chandradhar Borua, they also gave evidence before Mr. Montagu. And Montagu was the Secretary of State for India. Right, so 1917 was a very important year. Then Turunram Fukan presided the Gwalpara session of Assam Association in 1918. And actually, Turunram Fukan, Nobin Chandra Borole, Rohini Kumar Chaudhary, Vishnuram Medhi, Kuladhara Kholiha, and many others actually introduced an element of extremism into the politics of that particular association. Then Turunram Fukan presided over the Gwalpara session of Assam Association in 1918. And actually Turunram Fukan, Nobin Chandra Borole, Gopinath Borole, Vishnuram Medhi, Kuladhar Soliha, Padmadhar Soliha, and many others actually introduced an element of extremism into the politics of the Assam Association, right? So they were not moderate, they were in the extremism side. And finally, in 1921, Assam Association merged itself with the newly formed Assam Provincial Congress Committee, APCC. So it was formed in 1903 and it was finally merged in 1921. Assam Association, very, very important. Please try to remember all the information I have discussed here. Now let us discuss another organization, the Ahom Chhatra Sanmilan. Then in the year 1916, the first session of Ahom Chhatra Sanmilan was held in Guwahati, and the first president was Lakshmi Nath Bezborua. And initially, actually, this particular Ahom Chhatra Sanmilan, it was a literary organization and it is not interested in politics. But with the passage of time, they got involved in the freedom movement and they actually started urging people for using Swadeshi goods and boycott of foreign goods. And also, they demanded a separate university of Assam, right? Then the Ahom Chhatra Sanmilan created a cadre of student leaders like Chandranath Sharma, Omiyo Kumar Das, Hemchandra Borua, Padmadhar Soliha, and many others. So please try to remember this particular year, Ahom Chhatra Sanmilan 1916, and it was presided by Lakshminath Bezborua. Then on 16th of October 1905, Assam's status as a separate province came to an end. And actually Assam became a part of the newborn Eastern Assam, Eastern Bengal and Assam, right? So it actually, this is the partition of Bengal, right? So the Assam Association and the Zuruzhat Harbozonic Hawa, they organized protest against this particular partition of Bengal, right? And soon anti-partition movement started in Assam, and British goods were boycotted. Shops were started for sale of Swadeshi goods. So after the partition of Bengal, apart from Bengal, in Assam, Swadeshi movement also started. And at Guwahati in 1905, an attempt was made by Ambikagiri Rai Chaudhuri and Gobindo Lahiri to organize the local students in Swadeshi spirit. Then Ambikagiri Rai Chaudhuri, Triguna Borua and few others actually attracted towards the cult of or the way of extremism under the influence of Barin Ghosh and Khudiram. They were from Bengal, right? So they were influenced by the activities of Barin Ghosh and Khudiram. And Ambikagiri Rai Chaudhuri, he was a very famous personality in the history of Assam, and he was given the title Ahom Kekhori, and he actually founded the Ahom Hongrakini Hawa. So I'll discuss these things in the next lecture. Then in the year 1912, the first Assam Legislative Council was created with 13 nominated and 21 elected members, and the Chief Commissioner of Assam, Archad Izel, the name is very complicated, he became the chairman. And this particular Assam Legislative Council was formed according to the Morley Minto Reforms or Government of India Act 1909, right? Then the first sitting of Assam Legislative Council took place in Shillong in 1913, right? And in the previous lecture, I have already discussed that the capital of Assam was established in Shillong in 1874, right? So the first sitting of Assam Legislative Council took place in Shillong in 1913. Then some leading members of Assam Legislative Council were Torunram Phukon, Fonidhar Soliha, Manik Chandra Borua, Padmanath Gohai Borua, Muhammad Sadullah, Raja Prabhat Chandra Borua. But later, Torunram Phukon, Radha Gobind Das and Fonidhar Soliha resigned from Assam Legislative Council. Then in the year 1921, I have already discussed that Assam Provincial Congress Committee was formed, and its headquarters was in Guwahati, and Kuladhar Soliha, he became the first president, and Assam Association was merged with it. However, Sobilal Upadhyay, he was regarded by many as the first president of APCC because he presided over the first meeting which actually initiated the formation of APCC, right? So there is a confusion between in these two, right? In this two information. So many regards actually Kuladhar Soliha as the first president, but actually Sobilal Upadhyay, he presided over the first meeting which initiated the formation of APCC. And Sobilal Upadhyay, that is why he is also considered as the first president of APCC. Then later Torunram Phukon became the president of APCC, and the reconstituted APCC, that means Assam Provincial Congress Committee, it elected Torunram Phukon, Gopinath Bordoloi, Bimala Prasad Soliha, Chandranath Sharma, and Bimala Prasad Soliha later he became the Chief Minister of Assam, right? Then Chandranath Sharma, Krishnanath Sharma and Kanak Chandra Sharma as the members of All India Congress Committee. So there might be a direct question like that, who among the following is a member of or was a member of All India Congress Committee? Then the answer will be the following personalities, right? Then under the initiative of this particular new committee of APCC, Mahatma Gandhi was invited to Assam in 1921, and actually he accepted their invitation, Mahatma Gandhi, and finally he visited Assam in 1921. So Mahatma Gandhi launched the non-cooperation movement in 1922, and this particular non-cooperation in Assamese, it is called Asahayog, right? It is termed as Asahayog Andolan or non-cooperation movement. And this particular non-cooperation movement, it is basically a reaction to the notorious Rowlatt Act, then the notorious Jallianwala Bagh massacre or the unfortunate incident. Actually, in that particular incident, General Dyer actually ordered his troops to fire on innocent people. Then the Khilafat issue. So these were the factor behind the non-cooperation movement. And in Assam, both the Hindus and the Muslims, they equally responded to the cause of the Khilafat issue, right? Then Nobin Chandra Bordoloi, he appealed to the people of Assam to accept the non-cooperation. Then in 1920, the Tezpur session of Assam Association, which was chaired by Prahanna Kumar Borua, it accepted the resolution of non-cooperation. Then in the year 1920, the Assam Provincial Congress Committee was formed and Kuladhar Soliha was the first president. Then after that, it was reconstituted and Torunram Phukon became the president of APCC. And the newly constituted APCC has invited Mahatma Gandhi to spread the ideals of non-cooperation in Assam, and following that Mahatma Gandhi visited Assam with Ali brothers. Ali brothers means the Shaukat Ali and Muhammad Ali, and basically they led the Khilafat movement, right? So this is a very important question. This is the first visit of Mahatma Gandhi to Assam along with Shaukat Ali and Muhammad Ali in August 1921. And responding to the call of Mahatma Gandhi, the lawyers, government officers and the teachers left their government job to devote themselves to the cause of the nation, right? That means for the independence of the nation. And there was also a strike against the opium habit. Opium means kani khwa habit of the Assamese people, right? The Congress volunteers made a door-to-door campaign and picketing against opium. Then the tea workers also joined in this particular non-cooperation movement, and many of them actually wanted to go back to their original place in the Chotanagpur Plateau region, right? So in the industry chapter we have already discussed, and also in the initial period of British rule I have discussed that for the tea plantation in Assam, to work in the tea states of Assam, lakhs of tribal people were brought from the Chotanagpur region, right? So they were basically the tea workers. So during the non-cooperation movement, the tea workers actually wanted to go back, but they were suppressed. And at that time also there were strikes of Assam Bengal railway workers and the steamer navigation services. Then in the year 1921, in March to be specific, there was a labor strike in the Halem tea estate in Dorong. And right now this Halem tea estate, it is in the Sonitpur district. Then there was another labor strike in the tea gardens of Silhet and Kachar region of the Surma Valley in the middle of 1921. That means in the same year when non-cooperation movement was in full swing. So there was a general exodus. Exodus means the mass departure of thousands of laborers from the tea gardens, right? So in non-cooperation movement 1921, thousands of tea workers actually they left the tea gardens in the Silhet Kachar, particularly in the Sorgula area, and that is why that particular incident was known as Sorgula Exodus. Very important information from examination point of view. Sorgula Exodus in Surma Valley in Silhet and Kachar in 1921. Then the participation of women folk was an important feature of non-cooperation movement in Assam. Bidut Prabha Devi, Hemanta Kumari Devi were notable among them. Then the Guwahati Bar Association, at the initiative of young lawyers, they even decided to boycott the Viceroy's visit to Assam, right? Then almost all the district level association took the decision to boycott the council election, and also they raised objection to take titles, honors and honorary posts provided by the British government. So this is how actually non-cooperation movement was there in Assam. Then the boycott agitation of the students had almost automatically led to the demand for a setting up of national level school and national colleges in provinces. National school means Jatiyo Bidyalaya, right? Then a national school was established in February 1921 in the premises of the residence of Rohini Kumar Chaudhuri at Bhorolimukh in 1921, right? So this is a very important information. During non-cooperation movement, a school was set up at the residence of Rohini Kumar Chaudhuri in Bhorolimukh, right? However, the non-cooperation movement met with an abrupt end, because Gandhiji suspended the non-cooperation movement after a violent incident in Chora Chori, that is in Uttar Pradesh, in 1922. So actually, in Chora Chori, a number of policemen were burnt down, right, by the agitating people or agitating mob, and that is why Gandhiji suspended the non-cooperation movement. Then in March 1922, Amiyo Kumar Das attended All India Congress Committee meeting, and he informed about the severe repression that was going on in Assam by the British administration, right? So he informed the AICC. Then following that information, Dr. Rajendra Prasad and Pandit Madan Mohan Malabya, they visited Assam in May 1922 and submitted a report. So this is another very important question. In which year Dr. Rajendra Prasad or Madan Mohan Malabha visited Assam? Then the answer will be 1922, and it can be asked otherwise. Say for example, during non-cooperation movement, which of the following national leaders visited Assam? Then the answer will be Rajendra Prasad and Pandit Madan Mohan Malabha. Then by the end of 1922, the Provincial Congress suffered from the organizational weakness, and this led to the formation of the wing of Swarajya Party in Assam 1923. Right, Swarajya Party was actually it was initiated or set up at the national level, and the Assam wing of Swarajya Party was formed in 1923. And Torunram Phukon was elected as the president of Swarajya Party, and Gopinath Bordoloi became the secretary. Very important information. And this question is most commonly asked. Who was the president of Swarajya Party in Assam? The answer is Torunram Phukon. And in fact, the Swarajya Party contested council election that was held in 1923, and finally 8 Swarajya Party members were elected to the Assam Legislative Council in 1924. And Torunram Phukon was elected to the Central Legislature. Then in 1926, Nobin Chandra Bordoloi from Congress, he was also elected to the Central Legislature. So here you can see that in the council election, this particular Swarajya Party had participated, and Torunram Phukon was elected to the Central Legislature. Another important information. Then by the same time, Khilafat movement, it had came to an end because the reorganization of Turkey was take place as a secular state under Kamal Pasha. So basically, the Khilafat movement ended, and that is why the Hindu-Muslim unity during non-cooperation also got weakened. Right, so the Hindu-Muslim unity during non-cooperation was mainly due to the common issue of Khilafat, right? Then during that time, actually large migration of people into Assam took place from the nearby East Bengal region, and it threatened the Assam's social and cultural life. And consequently, the Assam Hongrakini Sabha was founded by Ambika Giri Rai Chaudhary. He started publishing a monthly journal called Chetona and demanding protection of the rights of the Assamese people against the aggression of the outsiders. Outsiders means basically the illegal migrators from the East Bengal region, right? So here you can see actually one more information. The immigration problem of Assam is not new. It started even in the year 1921 onwards, right? Then Padmanath Gohai Borua and Nilamani Phukon, they also subscribed to the Assam Hongrakini Sabha, and this Assam Hongrakini Sabha later became the Assam Jatiya Mahasabha. Then many Rayat Sabhas and Krishak Sabhas also sprang up in different parts of Assam. Say for example, the Biswanath Rayat Sabha, Saring Hologuri Rayat Sabha, Ganak Pukhuri Rayat Sabha, and Nodwar Rayat Sabha. And there was another organization called Krishak Hanmilani, and actually it raised voice for the cause of the peasants in Assam, right? So basically it is the period of political unrest after the suspension of non-cooperation movement in 1922. Then the Pandu session of Indian National Congress. So in the year 1926, the 41st session of INC or Indian National Congress was held in Pandu in Guwahati. And the president of this session was Srinivas Iyengar. And Mahatma Gandhi also came to Assam to participate in this 41st session of INC, right? So that was the second visit of Mahatma Gandhi to Assam. First in 1921, then in 1926, right? Then in the year 1929, in the Lahore session of INC, the Congress Committee declared the demand for complete independence under Jawaharlal Nehru, and it was the Purna Swaraj demand, right? And in response to that, Assam spontaneously celebrated independence on 26th of January 1930. Now let us discuss some other important events in 1930s. So the student community of Assam played an important role, and therefore actually in 1930, J.R. Cunningham, and he was the Director of Education Department of Assam at that time. So in 1930, J.R. Cunningham notified the infamous Cunningham Circular. And that particular Cunningham Circular actually demanded an undertaking from the students to abstain from joining politics, right? So basically that circular was launched, or that was initiated or notified mainly to prevent the students from joining politics, right? And the students all over Assam protested against this particular Cunningham circular, and several new schools were established. Say for example the Kamrup Academy of Guwahati, Barpeta Vidyapith, and many more, right? Then an Assam branch of the Hawa Dal, it is a part of Congress, right? Congress Hawa Dal. So the Assam branch of Hawa Dal was formed, and a training camp was also opened in Nagaon towards the end of 1930. So this is here you can see how the events developed in Assam. Then a Women conference was also held in Gauripur in the same year. So here you can see there might be direct question that the Women conference was held in Assam in which year or in which place? Answer will be Gauripur, right? Then Chandradhar Barua went to England as a representative nominated from Assam to join the first roundtable conference in 1930. Very important question, and this question has been already asked in APSC prelims. Then in April 1930, after the historic Dandi March of Mahatma Gandhi, the Assam Congress joined the Civil Disobedience Movement. And these are actually some important events of 1930s. And Lord Irwin also visited Assam in 1930. So the years are very important, and also the important events, right? So now let us discuss the Civil Disobedience Movement in Assam. That means Ain Amainya Andolan. It was known as Ain Amainya Andolan, right? So after the Dandi March, Assam Congress joined the Civil Disobedience Movement. And the struggle in Assam took the form of a boycott of foreign clothes, then excisable drugs, and the shops selling goods, and also picketing was resorted, right? So this is how actually civil disobedience in Assam started. Vishnuram Medhi, Tyagbir Hemchandra Barua, Dr. Bhubaneswar Barua, Amiyo Kumar Das, Pitambar Goswami, and many others actually played a great role in the civil disobedience movement in Assam, particularly in the initial period. And the women folk, they also played a great role. Notable among them was Chandraprabha Hoikiani, Durga Prabha Barua, Girijawala Gupta, Rani Gaidininu from Nagaland. She also organized a revolt against British. But later in 1933, Rani Gaidininu from Nagaland, she was imprisoned for life. So here you can see the participation of women folk in the civil disobedience movement in Assam. And to mobilize actually women folk across Assam, Ahom Mohila Committee was formed in 1930. And this is very important information. Please remember, 1930 Ahom Mohila Committee. Then this particular movement, Hatyagrah or civil disobedience movement, it was dragged till May 1934. And by that time, actually, most of the leaders like Nobin Chandra Bordoloi and many others, they were sent to jail. Then in 1937, as per the provision of the Government of India Act 1935, general elections were held in India, also in Assam. And on the eve of election, a United People's Party was formed by Tarunaram Phukon and Rohini Kumar Chaudhary to contest the election, right? So why they actually did that? Because Tarunaram Phukon and Rohini Kumar Chaudhary, they had already left the Congress party. And by that time also a local agitation, that means the agitation or movement at the local level, and its name was Assam University League. It was set up for the establishment of a separate university for Assam. So in my previous lecture, I have already discussed that at that time, the education in Assam was controlled by the Calcutta University, right? And that is why during that time, particularly after 1937, right, in that time, the Assam University League was established, demanding a separate university for Assam. And K.N. Datta was the first president of that Assam University League. Very important, and this particular information you will not find it easily in any book, right? And that is why try to remember. Very important. Then in the election of 1937, Congress won 33 seats out of 108 seats which are allotted to Assam. But the Congress didn't form the ministry. In the same year, Jawaharlal Nehru visit Assam. Although Congress won, they didn't form ministry. So what actually happened? Sir Muhammad Sadullah, he is from Muslim League, right? So he formed a coalition ministry with the support from European group and other local tribal and non-tribal group, and he formed a ministry and Sadullah became the chief minister of Assam. But soon after that, actually the government or ministry headed by Muhammad Sadullah, they started actually allowing the influxes of landless peasants from East Bengal and opened up fallow wasteland in Assam for the cultivation of those migrants. And that is why a section of Assamese nationalists got alarmed and they started raising protest by this kind of activity of Sir Muhammad Sadullah. Then the Congress ministry was formed in 1938. So what actually happened? The Ahom Hongrakini Sabha, established by Ambikagiri Rai Chaudhuri, it began to demand for the vindication or the protection of the right of the Assamese people and the children of soil against the aggression of outsider. Outsider means the migrator or migrants of East Bengal region, right? So on 13th of September 1938, the ministry headed by Sir Muhammad Sayyid Sadullah had to resign because of its communal policy. As I have already discussed, that they had started allowing the Muslim landless peasants from the East Bengal region, right? And that is why finally they had to resign in 1938. Then after the resignation of Muhammad Sadullah, on 19th of September 1938, Congress ministry was formed. And it was led by Gopinath Bordoloi, right? And then the Bordoloi ministry immediately stopped opium cultivation. Then they reduced land revenue in Assam, and most importantly, they had restricted the immigration from East Bengal, right? So here you can see actually the immigration to Assam from Bengal region, East Bengal particularly, and present-day Bangladesh. It started way back in 1921-1930 period, right? Then let us discuss some important events in 1938 to 1941. So, Amiya Kumar Das has been appointed as the first honorary prohibition commissioner by the Bordoloi ministry. And Amiya Kumar Das actually he began the drive for the prohibition of opium in Assam. Opium means kani, I have already discussed, right? Kani Nishedhagya. Then in the year 1939, another important event took place. That was the Digboi labor strike. So it basically involved the labor of the Assam Oil Company, and basically it was a dispute between the Assam Oil Company and the AOC Labor Union, right? And then after that, in September 1939, the Second World War broke up. But Congress refused to be a party in the imperialistic line, and hence the Bordoloi ministry in Assam has resigned in November 1939. And after that, Sir Sayyid Sadullah again formed a coalition ministry in Assam. Then after that, in December 1941, a students' demonstration was held by the students of Cotton College, Guwahati at the Just Field. So that particular demonstration was held against government initiative for the collection of money for the war fund. So police lathicharge was launched in that particular students' demonstration, and several students were injured. And that particular incident actually led to the resignation of the Sadullah ministry on 24 December 1941. So this is regarding some important events during the period 1931 to 1941. Now we'll discuss the Bharat Tyag Andolan or the August Revolution. Now the Quit India Movement or the August Revolution. It is also called the Bharat Tyag Andolan, right? In Assamese it is called the Bharat Tyag Andolan, right? So I have already discussed the non-cooperation movement or Asahajuk Andolan, right, of 1921. Then we have discussed the civil disobedience movement. That means the Ain Amaina Andolan. And now we'll discuss this particular August Revolution or Byalisor Gana Andolan, also called as Byalisor Gana Andolan. So let's get started. So after the civil disobedience movement, a campaign of individual Hatyagraha was launched under the leadership of Mahatma Gandhi across India basically. So in Assam also it was launched, and in Sibsagar the individual Satyagraha movement was started by Maulana Toyibullah, and he was the president of Assam Pradesh Congress Committee at that time. Please remember the name Maulana Toyibullah, individual Satyagraha in Sibsagar. Then apart from Maulana Toyibullah, Gopinath Bordoloi, Vishnuram Medhi, Amiya Kumar Das, and many others also took part in the individual Satyagraha, and most of them were arrested. Then after that in 1942, the World War II, it took a serious turn. And to meet the situation or to manage the crisis, the British government sent the Cripps mission to India. But the proposals made by Cripps mission, those proposals were not accepted by Congress as well as by the Muslim League, right? So basically, Cripps mission was a failure. 1942 Cripps mission, very important. Then in the same year, after the failure of Cripps mission, the Congress Committee, All India Congress Committee, adopted the famous Quit India resolution and decided to launch a movement, right? And this is the, initiation or origin of the Quit India movement or Bharat Tyag Andolan, right? So in like other parts of India, Assam also jumped into this particular Quit India movement within a week of the declaration of this particular resolution. Then Gopinath Bordoloi, Muhammad Toyibullah, Fakhruddin Ali Ahmed, Vishnuram Medhi, Deveswar Sharma, and many other leaders were arrested by the British as a preventive measure. And one more information, that since this particular resolution was adopted in August 1942, and that is why it is also termed as August Revolution, right? Then apart from the arrest of leaders, all the organizations, including Rayat Sabhas, which subscribed to Congress fund, they were also declared unlawful by British government. Then Hanti Hena organization were formed after that, right? Under the leadership of the local Congress socialist leaders. And Hanti Hena in Assam had a strength of around 30,000 volunteers. And these Hanti Henas actually guarded the villages at night, and they actually whipped up the food production in the villages as well, right? So basically, they were non-violent organization, Hanti Hena, hence the name Hanti Hena. Then Mohendranath Hazarika, Lakshmi Prasad Goswami, Shankar Chandra Barua, and many others, they actually built up an underground resistance movement. And basically, it is a violent movement. And finally, in 1942, Mrityu Bahini were formed, right? Mrityu Bahinis were formed. This is the death squad. And Mrityu Bahini was mainly led by Mohendranath Hazarika. So Mrityu Bahini basically involved in hostile activities or violent activities. So here, Mrityu Bahini carried out serious acts of sabotage and violence like destruction of railways, bridges. They in fact set fire to government properties, etc. And the other leaders of Mrityu Bahini were Gahan Chandra Goswami, Jyoti Prasad Agarwala, etc. Then apart from Hanti Hena and Mrityu Bahini, another organization called Hanti Bahini was also formed for non-violent protest, right? Then the atrocities of British government. Let us discuss first. So on 20th of September 1942, a procession of unarmed villagers marched towards Gauhpur police station, basically to hoist the national flag. And in that procession, Kanaklata Borua and Mukunda Kakoti was shot dead by police. So Kanaklata Borua, she was very young girl of 16 years at that time, right? So they were the martyrs of Quit India movement 1942. Then Madan Burman and Rauta Kosari, they lost their lives in the police firing in Bajali. So actually, the British administration launched atrocities all over Assam during this Quit India movement. Then in Dhekiajuli Thana, police opened fire on a crowd, and that particular crowd was actually protesting. Koholi Devi, Kumoli Devi, Tileswari Borua, and 3 others were also shot dead, right? Then in Berhampur Nagaon, Bhogeshwari Fukononi, Fuleswari Kori, Thogi Khut, Hemram Patar, and many others, they were also shot dead, right? While they were protesting. Then after that, in 10th of October 1942, a military train was derailed at Horupathar Gulaghat. And that particular activity was carried by Mrityu Bahini. And in that incident, actually, many British soldiers had to lose their life. And following that, Kukhal Kuwar was arrested. And those British soldiers, actually, they were fighting the World War, right? So after that, Kushal Kumar was arrested and convicted of sabotage, and finally he was hanged in Jorhat jail on 15 of June 1943. And Kushal Kumar was the president of Horu Pratha Congress Committee at that time. And the most important information, Kushal Kumar was the only Marathiye to be hanged in Quit India movement. অর্থাৎ কুশল কোঁৱৰ 42 গণ আন্দোলনৰ একমাত্ৰ শহীদ যিজনক ফাঁচি দিয়া হৈছিল, right? Then Chandraprabha Khoikyani, Pushpalata Das and many other women leaders played a great role in organizing women volunteers in that movement, right? Then an Independence Day was celebrated on 26th of January 1943, and it was mainly led by many women and young students. And in fact, Chandraprabha Khoikyani, she was arrested at Pathshala while she was presiding over the Independence Day meeting. By 1943, this particular movement lost its tempo, and many leaders were arrested, and some leaders like Shankar Chandra Borua, Mohendra Hazarika, Jyoti Prasad Agarwala, Gahan Chandra Goswami, actually many of them went underground, and basically they carried violent activities, as I have already mentioned. And here I am, mentioning a very important incident. So when the actually leaders like Shankar Chandra Borua and Mohendra Hazarika, they went underground, Anna Borua was tortured, and Anna Borua, she was the wife of Shankar Borua, right? And she was tortured mainly to extract the whereabouts of Shankar Borua. Very important incident, right? And unfortunate as well. Then after that, in December 1945, Jawaharlal Nehru made a tour to Assam. And the objective of that particular tour was to make an impact in the public mind in favor of Congress, because the election was due. Then in January 1946, Mahatma Gandhi visited Guwahati along with other 4 leaders and performed mass prayers. And this was the last visit of Mahatma Gandhi to Assam. Then after that, elections were held in 1946, and the Congress party, it won over 50 seats out of 108 seats in Assam Legislative Assembly. And 2 independent members joined later, and the Congress ministry was formed on 10th of February 1946, right? And Gopinath Bordoloi became the premier. At that time, actually, the term chief minister was not used. The term premier was used. Premier means Pradhan Mantri basically, right? And after independence, this Gopinath Bordoloi became the first chief minister, right? Then regarding Mahatma Gandhi's Assam visit, he visited Assam 4 times, 1921, 26, 34 and 46. So his first visit to Assam was in the year 1921 during the non-cooperation movement or Sahajuk Andolan. This slide is very important. Please remember Mahatma Gandhi's Assam visit, most frequently asked. Then Gandhi's second visit to Assam in 1926. So there actually he attended the 41st Congress session that was held in Pandu, Guwahati. Right? Then comes the civil disobedience movement. So Gandhiji visited Assam in 1934 during the civil disobedience movement. And finally, he visited Assam for a 4th time in 1946, right? And here in the visit of 1921, Gandhiji was accompanied by Shaukat Ali and Muhammad Ali, the Ali brothers. And regarding the 4th visit, Gandhiji actually stayed in a region or location called Horania Hills in Guwahati. And now, today, there is a Gandhi Mandap is located in that particular Horania Hills, right? So the Horania Hills in Assam, in particular in Guwahati city, it has a relation to the 4th visit of Mahatma Gandhi, right? Then after that, in 1946, 3 members of British cabinet reached India under the cabinet mission. And that mission actually arbitrarily divided British India into 3 groups, Group A, Group B and Group C. And as per that particular grouping plan, Assam and Bengal were to be clubbed together in a Group C, right? And it would create a predominantly Muslim zone in eastern India. But that plan was strongly opposed by all people of Assam. Assam Provincial Congress Committee resisted against the Assam inclusion in the grouping system. Assam Jatiya Mahasabha, actually they also played a great role in that particular time. So Assam Jatiya Mahasabha revealed a underground conspiracy of Maulana Bhahini group from eastern Bengal. And actually that particular group, they were trying to invade Assam through population migration. And Assam Jatiya Mahasabha, they revealed the conspiracy, right? Maulana Bhahini group. Then Ahom Jatiya Mahasabha, under the leadership of Ambikagiri Roy Chaudhary, they also organized mass protests across Assam against the grouping plan. Then finally, on July 16, 1946, the Assam Legislative Assembly, they also adopted a resolution moved by Premier Gopinath Bordoloi himself, expressing strong disapproval of the grouping plan. Right? So basically, all the people in Assam and also the Assam government, they were also against the grouping plan. And by the same time, Soyed Sadullah and Gopinath Bordoloi participated in the Constituent Assembly on behalf of Assam. And they put efforts in including the 6th schedule in the constitution. So this is another important information, and it is related to polity basically, 6th schedule. So Soyed Sadullah and Gopinath Bordoloi, they were instrumental in incorporating the 6th schedule in the constitution. And 6th schedule is basically related to the administration of tribal areas in Assam, Manipur, Tripura and Mizoram, right? So here the only important information is that Soyed Sadullah and Gopinath Bordoloi, they were instrumental in incorporating the 6th schedule. Then on 3rd of June 1947, the Mountbatten's plan was accepted. And this plan was formulated after Indian National Congress, the Muslim League and the Sikh community came to an agreement with Governor General Lord Mountbatten, right? And following that particular Mountbatten plan, Indian Independence Bill 1947 was passed in July 1947. This day is very important, 18 July 1947, right? And since this particular bill was passed, the anti-grouping agitation in Assam also came to an end. Then after that, according to that particular Indian Independence Act 1947, India was divided into India and Pakistan. Pakistan won freedom on the midnight of 14 August and India won freedom on the midnight of 15 August. So basically, this is how Assam got independence, right? Then Akbar Haidari became the first Indian governor of Assam. And as I have already discussed that Gopinath Bordoloi already assumed the post of premier, right? So Gopinath Bordoloi became the first chief minister of Assam in independent India. Very important information. So guys, this is how I have covered the modern history of Assam, starting from the annexation of British rule, then the freedom struggle, and finally the independence of Assam. So this is all over for today. Thank you for watching. Have a good day.